So we're a little bit late on this, but we need to talk about the state of the NBA MVP award. And actually, this year confirms what has always been true. This award is subjective and often goes to the wrong player, maybe the player that's not actually the most valuable to their team. And yes, I am saying that in 2025, Nikola Jokic is the rightful MVP once again. I don't have anything against SGA. He's a great player who had one of the greatest seasons a shooting guard has had. He's just not the most valuable player. Not only is Jokic putting up historically great numbers, yes, more impressive than SGA's. Look at his ranking for points, rebounds, assists, and steals. He's also working with less. Now, also go look at his usage rate. When we compare what he's doing right now, people often look at Russell Westbrook and what he did in his triple-double seasons. Jokic is doing that with about a 19% usage rate. His efficiency is insane. When we look at value, we also need to consider how the team would fare without the player. Without Jokic, would the Nuggets have made the playoffs this year? No, not a chance. They would have had maybe around 20 wins. Without SGA, would OKC have made the playoffs? Well, I'd say they wouldn't have been the 1 seed, but they'd certainly be a playoff team. So statistically and in wins and losses impacted overall statistical rankings and in plus minus, Jokic is better, and yet SGA wins the MVP. But why? A term any basketball fan is aware of, and yet we accept it as some sort of unwritten rule: voter fatigue. Voter fatigue and media spin has crowned many incorrect MVPs. Sorry to say, I'm looking at you, Steve Nash. I think you could argue Karl Malone, Joel Embiid, SGA now, among others. Voter fatigue is the height of media malpractice when you look at their contribution to this award. What does it say if we're fatigued by greatness? Voters for the MVP should champion and reinforce greatness, not tire of it. When listening to arguments for SGA's MVP case, it's never about his stats. It's about the 1 seed in the West and an accompanying statement. It's his turn, or Jokic can't win because of voter fatigue. These are not valid arguments, especially when you acknowledge how historically great this Thunder team is, at least in terms of its regular season and how many great players contributed to that. Another unwritten rule is that a player has to clear a higher and higher bar to earn multiple MVPs. Jokic, having won 3 MVPs, has some sort of bar against history preventing him from his 4th MVP. But why? Isn't this award defined as the most outstanding player of the regular season? And isn't every season its own standalone season? Jokic winning another MVP isn't necessarily a nod that he is one of the greatest of all time, rather that he is the greatest of each of these mentioned seasons, which he undoubtedly is. At the end of the day, the MVP award gives us all something to argue about and keeps us entertained as the season winds down. But shouldn't it also be something credible and legitimate? As it stands, the NBA MVP award is becoming less relevant with each year when we talk about greatness. It isn't irrelevant, but there are clearly years where it's more an indication of narrative of the season than actual greatness displayed on the court. Any great basketball player should aspire to win this award, but unfortunately the NBA MVP award is becoming tarnished and less valuable thanks to nonsensical, unwritten rules and a sports media that somehow gets bored of greatness and maybe even more sadly just doesn't acknowledge the greatness right in front of it. I'm Matt with Hoopsology. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, peace out.